Hello, and welcome to the Novus North Expert Series. This is where we banter with industry executives about all things digital, experience, and financial services. I'm Michelle Palomera, the Chief Growth Officer at Novus North. Today, I'm happy to welcome Bob Troyer, someone I've known for a long time, dating back to 2012 when he hired our firm to help work on a strategic project. And since then, we've worked closely over a decade and also maintained a friendship all these years. In fact, recently we enjoyed a tiki boat tour ride on the Miami River with some friends. And I'm excited to hear about his thoughts and perspectives on how design is critical to the product management function. Well, hello, Bob. Thanks for joining us today. Why don't you start by just telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Michelle. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for having me today. A little bit about me. I've spent 20 years in financial services, and this past 12 building digital solutions for small businesses, banks, investors, and asset managers. Um, I'm currently offering fractional Chief Product Officer services as a part of my own consulting firm, Route 322. Prior to Route 322, I worked at large institutions like Sidley Austin, LaSalle Bank, Bank of America, and US Bank, and then worked for a startup called SmartBiz Loans. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, and went to Northwestern, then lived in Chicago for many years before landing in sunny Miami Beach over the past 2 years. And yes, the cruise in Tiki was an amazing way to see the city, and that was a lot of fun. I'm very excited to talk about why design is important from a product leader's perspective, especially when you're dealing with complex systems and processes in the financial services sector.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how you think design can help drive better outcomes, which is the title of our talk today. The thing I wanted to open with here is we're seeing a lot of companies who have grown to have large design teams. They're starting to reorganize. They're starting, not just layoffs, but decentralization. There's sort of a lot going on. And oftentimes we see design teams sort of get farmed out as individual resources to product teams versus being an integral part of the product strategy. So I'd love to hear some of your stories on this topic and thoughts.
Yeah,
So first question, can you how do you think about how designers can become more of a strategic partner?
yeah, I think it's a great question, and my opinion goes back to my early days in product. I was a business strategy expert when I got my first digital project at US Bank back in the day. And we were trying to, we needed to create a client portal to close a competitive gap and also help us streamline and automate a lot of the workflows that we had with our clients. But I didn't have a lot of experience in laying out a vision of the future for the portal, for any portal for that matter. And I was lucky enough from a leadership perspective, they brought on or our leadership brought on a UX design firm. And as I kind of learned on the job, and as a part of that, I was paired with a UX leader, and she was a real excellent researcher and storyteller. She really pushed the value of research and casting a wide net across businesses and doing a large 8 to 12 week research initiative, even though, I was anxious to get started on the design of a portal that I had already imagined in my own head. And so, the data that we got from that research was critical, and it provided the foundation for our strategy, not just for the next few months, but for the next few years. And it really helped us understand what was unique and shared across different businesses and personas. and allowed us to chunk things out into themes and phases. And that vision that we laid out, it underpinned a portal that, helped us increase market share by 40% the year we launched. And that was an impressive result for kind of a first attempt at a portal. And I think it was a pivotal lesson right off the bat on how designers can strategically influence product outcomes through comprehensive research and storytelling.
Yeah, that's an amazing success. Just a additional note on the research process that we used for those viewers who might not be familiar with some of the user-centered design approaches. What we do is contextual research. So it's observational in nature, it's unstructured, it's to observe the user in their environment, in the flow of work, doing the tasks that they're trying to do, so that we can pick up on sort of where we can digitize, where we can automate, where is data needed, and some of those more behavioral types of requirements. It's really exciting when you see um, clients and their clients sort of participate in this type of research. And the feedback I recall, Bob, I think it was Wellington Management on the asset side and DTCC on the market participant side. They really enjoyed just being included in this part of the design and product development process. And I think it overall improved the client relationship that you had with them. So there's a lot of benefit to that. Um, so, Bob, just building on that, can you talk a little bit more about what some of the additional value was in taking this approach, and what were some of the specific insights you gained?
Yeah, I think that's a great point on clients being excited about the approach. It made them feel heard, and they could see that we were serious about doing something different because we had UXers in the field and nobody else had done anything like that before. As a part of that effort, right, design captured concrete examples of where our technology and our competitors' technology was really falling short, and what was most important to fix now versus later. They had the quotes, the notes, the recordings, the analysis, the findings, the recommendations. And it was clear to us from doing the research that we could differentiate ourselves if we didn't create another version of Excel on the web, right? Applications at the time had 50 different tabs, and you had to hunt and peck and be a power user to know how to find data and features you needed, and that was falling short. So instead, we were going to create something that was simple and elegant and allowed the user to kind of navigate through the site with confidence and control. And we were going to focus on critical few features that were really important, especially in those initial phases, and do those things really well. Some of those things were table stakes, like document management and reporting. And some of them were differentiators. Our customized dashboard was very different, and our toolkit, which was something that was pinned to the bottom of the browser with global features like total asset exposure and data comparison tools, really helped with reconciliation process, which was a real big pain point for our customers. So when you put all of that together, we had a really compelling product when we launched, and that user-centered approach was really at the foundation of finding those insights that led to that product. And it wasn't just that the product was successful, but it really transformed our brand's perception in the market, positioning us as a tech innovator from then on.
That's amazing. It's very difficult to do in some of the more complex B2B segments of financial services, for sure. And there's definitely some magic that has to come into play when you balance the art of design and the science of technology to come up with that elegant solution that works. And I think, working with a talented team and an experienced team is really important when you're working with these complex types of products. Um, Switching gears here just a bit, I think some firms worry that taking this type of user-centered approach can slow down the product development process and, slow up the product launches. So we've often been asked to just do something quick and dirty so we can get it handed over to developers and without doing that research or iterating in the design process. And can you comment on how design can actually help build things faster and better?
Yeah, I think every business leader I think has a little bit of a impatience in them, so it's not surprising to hear that. But in a perfect world, every product design and development process should have ample time for and ample time and resources dedicated to doing a comprehensive research project like the one that I was just talking about, ensuring that you kind of design and build things in an optimal, scalable way from the outset. However, real world scenarios might necessitate a faster, quick and dirty approach, like you were saying, perhaps through some sort of proof of concept. And this can be useful for testing new ideas rapidly, things that you aren't ready to commit on right out of the bat, or when you're constrained by time and costs. And I think this is where it's really important, especially if you have experienced product owners, designers, and engineers with domain expertise, right? They know not just the
Mhm.
systems and the design, but they also understand the business well.
Yep.
That's really key in these scenarios, and you can kind of get away with maybe taking a few shortcuts, so to speak. And design plays a key role. They need to be knowledgeable, flexible, and willing to take in a lot of new information coming in from a lot of different experts, right? And iterate on prototypes to quickly get to something that can be built and tested in the market. So it's doable, but as a leader, you need to do that with your eyes wide open and leverage that iteration as a research project in and of itself, and use it to guide whether or not you want to fully commit to that direction. And it's also crucial to be aware that approaches like that often accrue technical debt, which requires time and effort to address in subsequent phases when you're commercializing the product. So, which is a necessary trade-off for speed in this type of scenario, but acknowledging it and planning for it will ensure a better long-term outcome.
Bob, I think as that was very insightful. I think you mentioned scaling earlier. And on that point, can you talk a little bit about how design can actually help scale and, how can it enable sort of the reduction of that technical debt? Um, how do these things kind of come about?
Yeah, I think scaling from a design perspective really starts with creating that modular design system, right? A collection
Hmm.
of reusable components and standards. So in your tech stack for any a platform that you have, you want reusable components in each one of the layers, and those are vital in building scalable products. And these components need to be compatible with the existing ecosystem as well, and be capable to be easily adapted as the platform evolves. So on the design side, documenting these design system components and standards are especially critical for large, complex financial systems, services platforms. And if you've worked at any large institution in financial services, you're certainly familiar with all the complexity, especially once you start integrating with the rest of that ecosystem that's necessary to get the data and features to clients that you want. So, high level, I think these design systems are great because they increase efficiency, right? So you can apply pre-existing components that speeds up new projects by avoiding reinventing the wheel every time you want to build a similar feature. They're cost effective, right? Reusing components avoids supporting multiple versions of the same type of thing, the same type of function. So that reduces your maintenance costs as you move forward. Agility, when you want to make changes, you can propagate those changes quickly and efficiently throughout the system by making one change once and spreading it throughout the system. Consistency, ensuring a uniformity and look and feel and interactions and behaviors that helps create a great customer experience. Scalability, reusing those components that are already optimized and tested for other use cases, and then building on top of those. That enhances your ability to scale. It streamlines onboarding. It can take designers weeks instead of months if you have everything documented to get onboarded. It helps with your UI developers as well. And reduce miscommunication. So a shared design language also minimizes errors and confusion among team members. So especially, again, whether it's within a functional team or if it's cross-functionally, if everybody's speaking the same language, you can have a lot more success. So, that's a pretty big list of stuff and benefits for a design system. I won't reiterate it, but it's obviously, documenting that type of thing can be very valuable in the product design and development process. So
I agree. We've definitely seen a lot of clients who've created design systems. It's sort of a spectrum. I think one of the best success stories I've seen in the last few years has been with one of our large banking clients who was able to measure that they've saved over 15 million in capital budget that they would have otherwise spent on development after the first year of launching their new design system, which we helped create, of course.
it's amazing. If you can
And
get your
that's
hands on that model that they use, that would be great for me to use in future projects. But
Yeah, I think two things they did that was really important out of the gate. They really thoughtfully selected their initial sort of feeder applications where we were sort of harvesting patterns from, and those projects that were sort of up first for modernization and redesign. And then second, they put an approach in place to really manage the design system like a product itself. And so they had funding to have a team to maintain it and work with the other business lines and stakeholders to ensure that it was getting rolled out, it was maintained, there was version
yeah,
control, etc. And they had various code bases as well for the components, which I think is it's important when you have a large enterprise that probably maintains platforms and multiple different technologies. So that was a
yeah.
real story.
U.S. Bank. I mean, to give credit to U.S. Bank. So we had our system with Pivot, and in the last few years when I was at U.S. Bank, they certainly at an enterprise level had gone to a strategy of managing the overall design system as a product, and I think that is paying off huge dividends for the bank at an
Excellent.
enterprise level. Yeah.
That's excellent. I think you mentioned design principles before, and I recall in the program that we helped you on, um, that was a big part of the strategy was creating design principles. We often hear about more general guiding principles at the program level, but I think I I think design principles themselves aren't always used as that North Star. Can you talk a little bit about how you created design principles and what they actually were, and how those were used for your initiative?
Yeah, and it is interesting that they're not prioritized or shared out, I guess, as much with stakeholders when they are driving. These design principles are driving how your customers are interacting with your institution, especially now in the digital age. So, we took them very seriously. Our design principles were focused, thoughtful, and consistent. So the design leaders on our team came up with those, and they were crucial in shaping the platform, right? Focused, we aim to simplify the complex, right? For instance, we incorporated a clear hierarchy throughout the system, using white space effectively and displaying information and tools uh, contextually when it made sense. And so that kind of minimize the cognitive load on a user, whether they're in an individual page or navigating throughout the system. We were thoughtful. We wanted to be the user's thoughtful friend, right? Our clients were
Okay.
busy, and the application is one of many tools that they use, and we wanted to do some of the thinking for them and offer digital services like notification features that were smart and could notify them to help them get throughout their day and let them know when something changed in their portfolio and they should be aware of it. We wanted to be consistent. I mentioned this earlier with the design system. Consistency was key from a look and feel to interactions, transitions, navigation. It was important that, whether you're logging in or you're on the dashboard or you're in a cash management feature or a trading tool and everything in between, you wanted that to be uniform, making the application easy to comprehend and use. And so adhering to these principles led to better decision making from a team standpoint, less waste, and foster trust with our users. They could rely on our application and our brand even as the platform evolved and grew over time.
Wow. That's that's thank you for sharing that. That was really interesting and hopefully something the audience can learn from. Um, how about a final tip, Bob, or story? I'm thinking about innovation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think by nature, design is supposed to be bringing innovation into a program. But how do you kind of keep that going? And how do you have non designers embrace innovation too? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, designers foster innovation by kind of having a strong point of view and communicating clearly and challenging the business product owners and engineering teams to prioritize the right solution for our clients and our business over the easy one, which a lot of times could be some sort of copycat of
Hmm.
what already exists out there today. And so, to kind of sustain this innovative culture, especially in today's rapidly evolving environment with AI and machine learning, practices like regular ideation workshops or fostering a culture of open feedback and
Hmm.
encouraging diversity of thought can be crucial, right? Diversity of thought within functional teams or cross functionally, making sure that designers have a voice at the table in all phases of the product life cycle. I think that's important. And designers can facilitate a lot of this, right? They can drive a lot of these methods, and those methods promote a creative friction, leading to richer ideas and better solutions. And this isn't kind of a one-time effort, right? It's an ongoing thing that requires a leadership commitment to having that friction, to having that openness, and having an environment that learns from failures and successes and creates this, innovation flywheel that builds momentum over time. And I think if you have the talented people and you have this environment with creative friction, I think you'll be well positioned to create something really great.
So true. You definitely need to have that creative friction, as you mentioned, and need to have that trust across the team so that everybody's confident in asking each other the tough questions. I think a lot of firms develop a culture of avoidance, and they don't enable team members to have that friction in a sort of productive way. And their end products and client experiences definitely suffer. Um, One thing that we like to do is create immersive ideation sessions as a way to kick off projects, but also as a way to keep cross-functional teams sort of aligned and thinking about innovation throughout a project. So we use sort of ideation throughout the entire sort of product design development process. Um, and that's a best practice that we have at Novus North. But Bob, maybe you and I should create an ideation process that takes place on a tiki boat tour. What do you think?
Yeah, cruising tikis and ideation. It sounds like an excellent plan for success. So
Yeah, we're definitely going to tag them in this video too. Maybe we'll get a free tiki boat tour ride. Become
sounds
influencers. Well, Bob, I think you've given our audience a lot to think about today and some great examples I hope everyone can use. So thank you for your time. And for our viewers, please let us know if you'd like to join the conversation. And if you have any questions, we would love to help. So just reach out.
great to see you, Michelle, and thanks for having me.